Hi, Holly Newman with week 4, and we will be discussing language acquisition. Language acquisition is a process by which humans acquire the capacity to perceive and comprehend language, as well as to produce and use words and sentences to communicate. So, that is a way that we have learned to communicate. There are two different types of language acquisition. You have BIC, BICS, and you have CALP, CALP. We'll start off with BICS. BICS is a basic interpersonal communication skills. It is much easier for the child to understand and actually do. This is where they're surrounded by. They learn by listening to people talk and communicate, and it's easier for them to master. CALP is cognitive academic language skills, and this is a higher level of language acquisition. This is where they're having to learn how to speak and read and comprehend this language. So it's a little bit challenging for the child, and it's a little bit harder for them to master. Now, how do we encourage language development within a classroom? The best way that a teacher can really truly encourage that child to learn is make learning fun. Don't just have the child sitting there by, his or herself, not understanding what's going on, not understanding what to do. Have that child a partner. Have that child a dictionary to where if they don't understand a word you're saying, they can flip in that Spanish dictionary or, whatever language he or she is. So it's really important to include these different teaching strategies, or we could say ESOL strategies, as we teach. There are 5 stages of language acquisition. That first stage is pre-production. That is one way verbalization, that there's no verbalizing back and forth. If you just say, get the ball, they'll get the ball, but they're not verbalizing. The second stage is early production. That's where it's the 1 or 2 word phrases, and that they're accompanied by present tense verbs. The third one is speech emergent. It's they're creating simple sentences in their speech. The fourth one is intermediate fluency. It's where they're able to talk more, they're able to form paragraphs, and there's not as many grammatical errors within their writing and speech. The last one is advanced fluency. That is where they have mastered this skill. They can read, they can write, they can listen, they can speak. So usually when you have an a L2 student within the 5th stage, he or she could possibly be dismissed from the program, but he or she will continuously be monitored throughout the year. So how can educators make sure that they are making lesson plans for L1 and L2? And how can educators be sure to make sure that they're not lowering the expectations? Well, here's how. 1, if you're using those ESOL strategies, you shouldn't have a problem. 2, you could, like earlier stated, you could pair he or she with a partner. You could scaffold on what they already know. So you can have a lesson made, but say it's not going the way you want to go. Continuously monitor, progress monitoring, continuously monitoring within the classroom. You could do anything, but don't just have the child sit there and take assessments, because what is he or she learning? Absolutely nothing, because they're going to be bored. And then they're going to be so lost and be afraid to ask you, the educator, questions, right? So it is important to continuously monitor them throughout the day, throughout the year. Don't just say, sit here with so-and-so and think that he or she is fine. No. You are not doing your job. So you need to make sure that you are continuously monitoring the child. You need to make sure that you are very sensitive to this child because he or she has come from a different place. This is a culture shock for them, and he or she may become frustrated, and that's when they start shutting down. So it is important to make sure that you are encouraging, whether it be verbalizing the encouragement or rewarding them with stickers. You could do anything. You could do reward systems, and every time, do it for all. That way you're not just singling out one child. Give them little stars and then, what they're working for. Anything, a piece of candy, whatever it is to make he or she feel comfortable. And those are ways that an educator could truly help, an ESOL student within a classroom. Now, even though a child may be dismissed from the ESOL, label, as I should say, they will still be monitored. It is important to continuously monitor them. Don't just say, oh, you're out of, the label of this category, so now you're in this category. I don't have to monitor you anymore. No, that's not true. You still have to sign off on their folders and making sure strategies are still being used and all of that. So, how can we truly encourage the students to listen and speak and understand this second language that he or she is not comprehending, not understanding? How can we make this beneficial within the classroom? Make sure that you are continuously changing your teaching strategies. One way may not work, and that's okay. Change to a different way that you're doing things. Don't keep doing something that's not working. Change your lesson plans and adapt them to your students' needs. So it is